الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على محمد المصطفى وعلى آله وأصحابه من الصدق والصفاء. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى جل جلاله في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. سبحان الله مولانا العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وصحبه الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وصحبه الصلاة والسلام Muslim scholars and the family member of the Holy Prophet, I am here to detail and to explain the situation of Imam al-Mahdi Akhir Zaman. I am not going to explain the differences and discrepancies between Shia and Sunnis, but I am just going to define the situation of Imam al-Mahdi Akhir Zaman and his lineage and his whereabouts, his details, his qualities, his education, and his identification, so that the Muslim would be able to identify him at the time of necessity. If they had asked me to explain the differences between Sunni and Shia, then it was my sacred duty to explain their differences. But now I was asked just to define Imam al-Mahdi as to who he is and how can we identify him when he appears. So according to the record maintained by Muslim prominent scholars, I am going to express the ideas relevant with the definition of Hazrat Imam al-Mahdi Akhir Zaman. You must know that all of the previous prophets were duty bound about the coming affairs, about the future. Just like Isa ﷺ was reported by the Holy Quran to have said, "Mubashshiran bi rasulin yati min ba'di ismuhu Ahmad." I am going to give you the glad tidings about the arrival of Muhammad Mustafa ﷺ, whose name is Ahmad, because it is sacred duty of the prophets to provide the people with the proper guidance for the future. Since Jesus was going to be ascended above the sky by Allah, therefore it was his duty to express the program concerning the future. He said, a person would come is from Jesus up to Muhammad Mustafa. No one else was expected to be invented or to be sent by Allah. Therefore, all of the smuggling fabricated by the people was rejected, because according to the report submitted by Jesus, no one else was expected and no one was likely to come. They were waiting anxiously for the arrival of Muhammad Mustafa. Since the prophethood was ended on Muhammad Mustafa, Ana Khatamun Nabiyyin, Wala Nabi Abadi, I am the last and final prophet of Allah, and no one else is expected to come in this world as with the title of the prophet. Then what would be the solution about the future people, the people who are expected to come up to the existence of the judgment day? Who will be there to look after them? Here, the Nabi Karim was to be found to show the progress. He said, Inni tarikun fikum as-salah. Inni tarikun fikum as-salah. This is the a gist of the traditions, Mishkat Sharif. That is a note of the total traditions. It's called Khulasa Hadith. It shows that this tradition was reported by Hazrat Zayd bin Arqam radiyallahu anhu. He was one of the Jewish Muslim scholars among the companion society. He was one of the senior companions of the Holy Prophet. He said, I listened these on ears, and I saw Muhammad Mustafa expressing this idea, Inni tarikun fikum as-salah. I am going to leave among you two highest elevated, highest prominent two things. Awwaluhuma kitabullah fil huda wal nur. One of them is the Holy Quran. And there is a light and the proper guidance in this book. Means nothing will happen with the Holy Quran to misguide you. Whenever and wherever you can take the Holy Quran, it will provide you with the proper guidance. It will show you the proper destination of your life. And who will be there? The book itself is not to teach the people. Who will teach it? According to the record maintained by Imam Bukhari in al-Bukhari, al-Bukhari, he says that when you start the education of your progeny, your posterity, your new generation, you must start the education with the teaching of the Holy Quran and the respect of Ali Bayt Rasul sallallahu alaihi
Mufakkir-e-Islam.
Because the Holy Prophet was reported to have left behind two prominent things. One is Holy Quran, and the other one is وَحَصَّ عَلَىٰ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ وَرَغَبَ فِيهِ. Nabi Karim instigated and persuaded the people to learn the contents of the Holy Quran. And then he said, وَآلِ وَإِثْرَفِي آلُ بَيْتِي. And the second thing is my close relatives. And Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu was reported to have asked Muhammad Mustafa and who were there, which was mentioned by the name of Ali Bayt Rasul sallallahu, and whose love was necessitated by the Holy Quran and by the prophetic traditions. Who are those people? He said, Al-Hasanu wal-Husainu wa abawahuma. These are four persons. Sayyida Fatima, Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu anhu, Imam Hassan radiyallahu anhu, Imam Hussain radiyallahu anhu. He said, Uzakkirukumullah fi ali bayti. Uzakkirukumullah fi ali bayti. The instantive, the first meaning of Ali Bayt, according to the record maintained by Hazrat Shaykh who died in 1054 AH. He says that the first meaning of Ali Bayt is what these four persons are. Nabi Karim said, Uzakkirukumullah fi ali bayti. Uzakkirukumullah fi ali bayti. Uzakkirukumullah fi. Nabi Karim sufficed on the mention of the Holy Quran, but he repeated for 3 times Ali Bayt Rasul. He repeated Ali Bayt Rasul for 3 times. Because This is a principle of eloquence. The speech will always be provided according to the necessity of the addressee. When you check the situation of addressee, the person who is being addressed by you, that is called addressee. When you are talking to someone, you should check his situation. When you see that something is going as negligence from your addressee, you must stress the point which you want him to practice. When Nabi Karim al-Islam saw that there was no negligence expected by Holy Prophet about the Ummah, relevant Quran belief, but the negligence mostly was expected about Ahl Bayt Rasul. There was a situation of addressee was at some extent dubitable about the obedience of Ahl Bayt Rasul. Therefore, Nabi Karim al-Islam was reported to have repeated this sentence: "Uzakkirukumullah fi Ahl Bayti, Uzakkirukumullah fi Ahl Bayti, Uzakkirukumullah fi Ahl Bayti." These emphasis show that Nabi Karim al-Islam was sure that there would be a negligence by Ummah in connection with the family of the Prophet. Since these two authorities were going to protect the Ummah against misguidance, against the deviation, against the paganism, against the idolatry, against the atheism, these two powers were to protect Muslims against all of the non-acceptable tendencies. Therefore, Nabi Karim al-Islam said in the beginning of the Holy Quran, "Zalikal kitabu la rayba fihi." This book, there is no any type of doubt in this Quran, so that you may be able to practice the contents of the Holy Quran with full convince, with full satisfaction that you are going on the right path, because this book was certified and authenticated by Allah Himself. And as far as second authority is concerned, Allah said, "Innama yuridullahu liyudhiba ankum ar-rijsa ahlal bayt wa yutahhirakum tatheera." I am not going to detail anyone else to certify the character of Ahl Bayt Rasul. I am going to sponsor their character. Innama yuridullahu. It concerns my intention. I want to purify the family member of the Holy Prophet, just like a person is going to be recruited as a key officer, just like magistrate, judge, the commissioner of sheriff, the judge of high court. His verification is submitted to the local authorities just to investigate whether he is a good person or not, so that he may be relied upon for the exercise of his office, his authority. Unless his character is certified by the atmosphere, he cannot be detailed or appointed as an officer. Ram says, when Nabi Karim al-Islam appointed them to exercise the rule of the Holy Quran, therefore they should be verified by me. I am going to verify, I am going to certify, I am going to confirm.
Mufakkir-e-Islam.
So this is the proper way. When a person is going to appear in the court, there is a verification evidence which is called Shahadat Safai. When a person submits the evidence in the court is not going to rely upon that person. Court asks the relevant people to produce certain other persons to certify him, to verify him that this person is very authenticated, very truthful, very genuine person, so that the case may be based upon for the achievement of the decision about the relevant matter. When Allah was going to establish this system of judgment, this adjudicator, this system of the judiciary, Rabbi Karim said, "Oh my Holy Prophet, announce that these two things are to be contacted to be approached to for the proper guidance." And Aisha, verifying the character of both of them. I am saying, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. And this family, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمْ الْبَدْءَ وَالْفَسَادَ.
نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ حیدری، نعرہ غوثیہ، حضرت مفکر-e-Islam.
فیضان مفکر-e-Islam.
The addressee of this speech were the companions, the topmost senior, the companions of the front line of the Holy Prophet. Siddiq Akbar radiyallahu anhu, Farooq Akbar radiyallahu anhu, Usman Ghani radiyallahu anhu, who were chief of Ummah. Hazrat Siddiq Akbar radiyallahu anhu, chief of Ummah Muslimah. And after that, Hazrat Farooq Akbar is second chief of Ummah. But why Nabi Karim al-Islam did not address the people to assure about them that there could be proper guidance? Nabi Karim al-Islam knew that these persons are highly dignified persons, but they are deeply concerned with them. When they go from the world, their dignity and their guidance and their power will also go with them. But the blessing, but the proper faizan of Allah will continue with the family of the Prophet. As the Quran is not going to be finished, the family of the Holy Prophet is not going to be finished. Even if atrocity and bloodshedding committed against the family of the Holy Prophet is matchless in the human history, from Adam up to now, so much massacre was not attempted about anyone. Whatever was attempted among the family of the Holy Prophet or Al Fatima were killed in so number that human history cannot record so much number about any family. In spite of the fact, in all of the world, wherever you go, Sayyid is there. Wherever you go, the Quran is there. Because these two sources was left by Muhammad Mustafa as sources of proper guidance. Inni tariqun fikum sakhalan. And Nabi Karim said, Inni tariqun fikum ma. This is the tradition recorded by Hazrat Jabir radiyallahu. That's also mentioned here. But if somebody likes to say, I shall give him, I shall show to him, I shall give the book, he will study. But Alhamdulillah, I have memorized all of the traditions relevant with the subject. Hazrat Jabir says that, Inni tariqun fikum ma in tamassaktum bihi lan tadillu ba'di. I am going to leave something. If you attach that thing, you will never be misled. This authority was quoted by the Holy Prophet. And what is that? Al-Quran and Al-Bayt Rasul. So this system started from Hazrat Haydar Karar. That time was the first time in history when a pious person like Hazrat Usman Ghani was assassinated. He was a very pious person, very gentle person, very generous person. When such a person was assassinated by the rebels, that time was a very crucial time in the history of Ummah. And Hazrat Haydar Karar was in position to cope with the situation. And he handled the situation which cannot be exemplified in human history. When Al-Madinah Tayyibah was unstable and the surrounding areas were also going to launch a mutiny against Islam, at that time it was Hazrat Haydar Karar who had experienced his bravery, his boldness, his tactics against the non-Muslims, against the rebels. And the tradition can be applied here. Inni tariqun fikum sakhalan, inni tariqun fikum ma, in tamassaktum bihi lan tadillu ba'di. The people who attached with Hazrat Haydar Karar, they were saved from all of the deviation. misleading. And then when Yazid came to power, he tried to legalize the totally unlawful things, just like alcohol was legalized in the reign of Yazid. And he legalized all of the prohibited marriages by Yazid. He was legalizing the marriage of sister with a real brother. He was legalizing the marriage of son with the mother. So the total structure of Islam was disfigured by Yazid. And you cannot say that only Imam Hussain was there to protect Islam against the deviation. But Imam Hussain came in front. The people who attacked with Hazrat Imam Hussain, they were saved from the misleading, misguidance. So according to the tradition submitted by Hazrat Zayd bin Arqam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, it was proved that whenever and wherever there is a mutiny, there is misleading, there is a deviation, there is a mutiny against Islam or Quran or the prophetic traditions, the offspring of Sayyidah Fatima will come in front to protect them against all of the deviation. And according to the reliable sources, Imam Bukhari says that the highest authentication of a tradition is about the verse which was reported by Imam Zayn al-Abidin. And he reports the same tradition from Imam Hassan or Imam Hussain. And he reports from Hazrat Ali radiallahu, and he reports Muhammad Mustafa to have said something. This is the highest tradition because according to the record maintained by Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they are the most reliable person, more authenticated persons who absorbed all of the sciences which was handed over by Muhammad Mustafa. Since new prophet was not coming, and it was decided that Nabi Kareem last and final prophet, Nabi Kareem said, the time will come, al-Mahdi minna ahl al-Bayt, Imam al-Mahdi Abu Zaman will come from my family. So this is really a whipping against the refusal of Ahl-Bayt Rasul that no one after Bara Imam, after Jara Imam, no one is Sayyid, no one is a family member of the Holy Prophet. This is totally wrong because Imam al-Mahdi is going to appear in the world just nearby Judgment Day, and that will from the family of Hazrat Nabi Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam. So their idea was refuted and condemned by Muhammad Mustafa. Whenever and wherever the blood of Sayyidah Fatima goes, my family will go there. And nowadays, the genes are reported by the scientists that genes never decide. Genes are never decide. The reproduction system, this is a fact. It was established by the physics. The scientific education says that this is not specialty of Muhammad Mustafa. Genes of every person are always alive by means of his coming generation. Just like the other generations are reproduced by the other generations, the generation of Muhammad Mustafa is reproducing the blood of Muhammad Mustafa up to the Judgment Day. Since last and final guidance was attached with Hazrat Imam al-Mahdi, therefore this name was smuggled and confused by many persons. The first person who was declared to be Imam Mahdi, he was Muhammad bin al-Hanfiya. Muhammad bin al-Hanfiya was son of Hazrat Haydar, and he was born to the great slave of Hazrat Haydar, which was allocated to Hazrat Haydar from the booty of Musaylama when Hazrat Haydar fought a holy war against the impostor Musaylama al-Kazzab in Yamama, Riyadh. So they formed again and they conquered Musaylama al-Kazzab. The plunder was collected and a maid slave was given to Hazrat Haydar. and she was made slave, Khanif, and she born a son for her to Hazrat Haydar Karar. His name was Muhammad bin al-Hanfiya. He was so powerful person that he lifted a dead body of a camel and he ascended it on the roof of the house. Very powerful person. But he did not participate in the battle of Karbala Sharif. Because he was not belonging to the blood of Sayyidah Fatima. Sayyid is always from the blood of Fatima. No one else can be called Sayyid. If you check any dictionary in Arabic, they will say lexically, Sayyid means any superior person. But according to the Islamic language, Sayyid is only offspring of Sayyidah Fatima. No. Therefore, the marriage of Karbala Sharif was attempted only by Hazrat Imam Hussain, and Muhammad bin al-Hanfiya took 100,000 dirham from Yazid and performed battle with him. Since he was defamed being son of Hazrat Ali, it was not appropriate for him to perform battle with Yazid. The people began to criticize him. Just to avoid their criticism, he was announced as Imam al-Mahdi because his name was Muhammad. But Nabi Kareem left many circumstances to identify Imam al-Mahdi. As other people have said, Yuwathi'u ismuhu ismi wa ismu abihi isma abi. Means he would be with the name of my name. He would be named after my name. His name would be Muhammad, but his father's name would be Abdullah, not Ali. Therefore he rejected, and they attributed this practice to Shia, that Shia declared him to be Imam Mahdi al-Zaman. Shia are Shia. We are against them and we are condemned them. But Shia is not in the situation that they can call a person to be Imam Mahdi who performs battle with Yazid. The disciple of Yazid cannot be named by them as Imam Mahdi. But this was a political propaganda just to avoid the criticism of the people. They said that since this is Imam Mahdi and he has performed battle with Yazid, therefore Yazid can be legalized. But Imam Hussain and his party came into front. They said this smuggling would not be legalized. You will have to be identified with the name of misled people, and we are not going to recognize you or to confirm you as true Muslims. This was the first attempt about the promulgation of Imam Mahdi. This was the first person to be called Imam Mahdi in the world. But he was disciple of Yazid. Disciple of Yazid cannot be Imam Mahdi. It means that such a here was attempted and exemplified and precedented by the religious Muslims as well. And after that, the third caliph, Muhammad bin Abdullah, which is mostly known as Mansur, he was third caliph of Abbasids. Abbasiya are called Abbasids. The third caliph of Abbasid, Muhammad bin Abdullah, he was proclaimed as Imam Mahdi Akhir Zaman. But Nabi Kareem al-Islam, and his report was very comprehensive. Nothing can be added in that one. It's called exclusive, comprehensive definition. Tarif-e-Jam-e Mane. Comprehensive, exclusive definition according to the logic. Logical language says that this definition is to exclude the other people, to include all of the qualities. Inclusive, exclusive definition of Imam Mahdi Akhir Zaman. His father, his own name was Muhammad. His father's name was Abdullah. But Nabi Kareem al-Islam said he would be from the blood of Sayyidah Fatima. Though his name was after the name of Muhammad, though his father's name was after the name of father of Muhammad Mustafa, but the other differentials, these are called differentials. Fasal, the logical part, differentials, which differentiates the other people from the original one. The original one was differentiated from the others. Nabi Kareem was reported to have said that Imam Mahdi would be from the offspring, from the posterity of Sayyida Fatima. So when all of the other particulars were checked, they were coordinating with the definition. But when this differential was attached, that he would be from the family of Hazrat Sayyida Fatima, then all of the posters were fought out and they were excluded and they were pulled out from the line of Imam Mahdi. The third person, as Abdul Shah has already said, third person was son of Imam Hassan Askari. Here Nabi Kareem was reported to have said that that person would be from the family of Sayyida Fatima, especially from the family of Imam Hassan. His lineage. Here you will have to check the lineage, the character of lineage, the importance of lineage, Shajra. Here you will have to realize the necessity of the accuracy of lineage. Unless you know the lineage, you can't differentiate between right and wrong. Here, all of the other things, the name was checked, the father's name was checked, and the Sayyid family was also checked. But the last and final definition concerning with Hazrat Imam Hassan, it was expressly told, reported by the Holy Prophet, that he would be from the lineage of Imam Hassan. Then this bogus person was also excluded from this definition. And having said like that, they confess the Quran. They say that Hazrat Imam Mahdi, the son of Hazrat Imam Askari, Imam Hassan Askari, have disappeared. And now he is taking the refuge in a cave. Why? Yeah, from the tragedy of Karbala, he was badly annoyed. He was badly injured. He got annoyed and he took the original Quran and went to the cave. Look, when there are certain persons, I am accused of a crime. You are accused of a crime. He is accused of a crime. But the property of one of them is confiscated, forfeited. So who is the criminal? The person whose property was confiscated. Confiscated, forfeited. That person is declared to be the criminal person, because without the establishment and proper proof of the crime, one cannot be punished. When a person is punished, it was established that this crime has been committed by this person. When the Quran of Sunni was not confiscated, when the literature of Sunni people was not confiscated, the Quran of Shia was confiscated. It means that Shia indirectly, they confirmed that the tragedy of the Karbala Sharif is our responsibility. We are responsible for that tragedy. Otherwise, we would not have been punished. Since the punishment was imposed upon them, therefore they have acknowledged, they have confirmed that the bloodshedding of Karbala Sharif is responsibility of those people whose Quran was confiscated. But this claim was also falsified and defeated, that this person is from the offspring of Hassan Askari, but he would be from the offspring of Imam Hassan, the sixth, the direct descendant of Hazrat Nabi Kareem ﷺ. Then all of the claims were refuted. Then against a person from Mawrauna, he also claimed that he is also Imam Mahdi. And by chance, he changed all of the names, his own name, his father's name, his mother name, his lineage, everything is changed. But the last reference is expressed, Hazrat Sayyid Shah Sahab, Madazilullah, he would be born in Medina Sayyibah, and there would be a dispute after the death of the chief of the state. He will leave Medina Sayyibah for Mecca Sharif. He goes in Medina Sayyibah, in Mecca Sharif, and the people of Mecca will identify him, and after his identification they will perform bath with him between the Rukn and Maqam. Means between Maqam Ibrahim and Hajar Aswad, and so many miracles would appear on his hand. Therefore people will come in a large number, and a huge congregation would be gathered there. Then the people of Syria, an army would be sent to fight against that Imam Mahdi. When they reach in the place of Beda, commonly say a field, a ground, just like playground, race ground. But that Beda is not a common field, but that is a proper noun of an area. When they reach there, they will sit down in the earth as a punishment. When the people see this situation, this scene, they will embrace the mission of Hazrat Imam Mahdi Akhir Zaman. Then Abdal of Syria will leave Syria for Mecca, and Asayab of Iraq, this is also a rank of Awliya Allah, they will also come there and they will meet with him. The person who proclaimed that he was Imam Mahdi and all of the conditions were complied with him, and he was rightly began to be believed that he was Imam Mahdi. He was defeated here. He was contradicted here, and he was falsified here because he was not born in Medina Sayyibah. He did not leave Medina Sayyibah for Mecca. He was not identified between Maqam and Hajar Aswad, and the people of Mecca did not perform bath with him. And after that, the army of Syria was not sent to fight against him, and they did not sink down in the earth. All of these signs and symbols to identify Imam Mahdi Akhir Zaman were not complied with. Therefore, he was also rejected and beat here. Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi, who was buried in Barakot, Ismail Dil, he was also claimed that he was also Imam Mahdi. So many concoctions, so many distortions, so many fabrications were attempted by different people, and they tried their best to mislead the Muslims. But Alhamdulillah, Islam is so strong. Islam is too powerful to be defeated by the smugglers or by the fabricators. This fabrication could not be legalized. When the question came in front, the people said, his name is Ahmad, not Muhammad. He said, Mubashiram bi Rasuli Yati min Ba'd ismuhu Ahmad. He was reported and given the glad tidings about with the name of Ahmad by Hazrat Jesus, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. So I am in the right to be called Imam Mahdi Akhir Zaman. I am Ahmad. But unfortunately, his father's name was not Abdullah. He said everybody is Abdullah. Everybody is slave. Here, he claims to be a Sayyid. But check, the Ahmad will not be mentioned in the chapter of Imam Mahdi. Because this quotation was made by Hazrat Jesus. Do you understand me? Do you understand what I say? Here, there is a deep point. You will have to concentrate your attention, then you will be able to understand. Hazrat Jesus, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, was reported by the Holy Quran to have said, Mubashiram bi Rasulin Yati min Ba'd ismuhu Ahmad. Why didn't he say Muhammad? Why did he say Ahmad? Really, at the time of happiness, at the time of excitement, at the time of emotions, one is habitual to speak his original language. And origin concerns with the Father. Since Jesus did not come in the form of mother by being the Father, but the puff which made the character of Father came from sky. Gabriel came and he puffed. When Gabriel puffed, otherwise Jesus came in the form of mother. So it means that the paternal attribution can be attributed to the sky. In this respect, otherwise Jesus is resident of sky. When you are tortured here, you go back to your original country. So this is a custom of human being that when a person is tortured, he tries to take the refuge in his own country. When Jesus was tortured by the people, he went above the sky because that is his original native country. And in that country, Nabi Karim was reported to have said, Ana Ahmad fil samai wa Muhammadun fil ard. My name is Ahmad in the sky and my name is Muhammad in the earth. It means that this is exclusive right of Hazrat Isa Hazrat Jesus to say him Ahmad because he is resident of the sky. This is not your right to say Muhammad Ahmad. All of the claims were refuted and condemned, and last and final impostor was Mirza Qadiani. He said, I am Imam al-Mahdi. First of all, the certificate issued by Allah concerns the family of the Prophet. You are Mughal. Curse be upon you. But a bad person, you are just changing your lineage just for a false claim. You are Mughal. You must not like many persons. And they tried their best to make their record as a Sayyid. Just like Fatimi is a tribe in Egypt. They have been called Sayyid for more than 300 years. But since they were fabricated Sayyid, Imam al-Jilani made research about their lineage and all of the genealogy concerning with them, and that was disclosed by Imam al-Suyuti, and the case was fought in the court and they were declared to be non-Sayyid. Now they are believed to be non-Sayyid. So they were called to be Fatim. So it means that Shajara, lineage, genealogy, genealogical tree is very necessary for everybody, especially for Sayyid, because other person doesn't want to waste his time just to find out his lineage, because he has concern with the land, with the property. As long as his property concerned with his father, his forefather, grandfather, etc., he traces out the lineage. But Sayyid, unless he reaches the blood of Muhammad Mustafa, he cannot be called a Sayyid. Therefore, this is a necessity of Sayyid people. Mirza Qadiani said, I am Imam Mahdi. The people came around him. Let us know how. He said, you know, Mahdi, Isa is himself Mahdi. Since I am Isa, therefore I am Mahdi. What a beautiful argumentation. If one says, I am myself and myself is my father, is it correct? Huh? He he says many contradictory things. For instance, he says, I was all alone and I found myself to be a wife, a woman. And Allah came here. And Allah was in the shape of a man. And he attempted the same experience which is attempted by the husband with the wife. And then I conceived. After 1 year. So this is a new biology. Embryology says that no fetus bears and stays in the womb of mother more than 1 year. But I don't know what his nature of. He stayed in the womb of himself for more than 1 year. And after that, he rubbed himself against a tree. And his womb was operated by that rubbing. And he came out from himself. Therefore, he is son of himself. Man was a man. I am son of my own self. Look, from top to bottom, totally wrong. Have you ever seen his photo? His photo is just a reflection of Maharaja Ranjit. They have got a complete resemblance with each other. He says, I am Imam Mahdi. Oh, that Imam Mahdi would be from the lineage of Sayyidah Fatima. And your mother is Chirag Bibi, which is mostly known as Kusiti. How can you be Imam Mahdi? All of these demarcations were made by Muhammad Rasulullah himself. He told everything. He said, not only the lineage, now I am going to explain his feature, his structure. He would be medium structure and he would be fair color and with open eyes, with big eyes. And his hair would be curly and his face would be very nice and his nose would be reasonably high. But when you see the photo of Abdul Qadir Jilani, you may fabricate, you may concoct, you may twist the facts, but how will you change your feature? Your nose is just like Maharaja Ranjit. And two eyes are not well balanced. One is bigger one and the other one is smaller one. And one of the eyes cannot be properly opened. And no Sayyid was found in the world with this feature. This is a new thing and a very novel thing found in the society. Such a person cannot be given a wife. How can he be a prophet or can he be Imam Mahdi? Imam Mahdi is other than Isa because Nabi Kareem ﷺ reported Imam Mahdi Akhir Zaman. When Imam Mahdi appears, at the same time, Jesus will come down from the sky. So here, two personalities will have to be believed in. And the tradition he refers to, the reporter of that tradition is Abban bin Sabah. Abban bin Sabah was totally forsook by the traditionalists. One is weakness. Weakness is acceptable at some time, but forsaking is not acceptable. Forsook, he was abandoned. He was left over. Why? A weak person can be accepted in certain branches. For instance, he is weak in the tradition of liturgical activities, about the worshipping. But his report is reliable in the dialectical theology, Aqaid. His tradition can be accepted in the dialectical theology. Sometimes his report is not reliable in dialectical theology, but his tradition is reliable in the agriculture, different branches of life. But when a person is abandoned, it means that no one of his report is acceptable in any quarter of Muslims. The reported, adopted, are followed by Mirza Qadiani, that was not accepted. That person was not accepted in any quarter of the Muslims. Means, as he is a bogus person, the reporter of that tradition is also bogus person. Bogus addition, bogus makes nothing. Mirza Qadiani himself and his reporter jointly means nothing at all. And these traditions were mentioned. Shah Sahib said that belief in the Aimma is not as necessary as in the Prophet, but this is a separate matter. As far as the verses, the traditions concerning with Imam Mahdi, they are mutawatir al-mana. Any person refusing the mutawatir hadith is infidel. Though the belief in the Aimma is not necessary as the necessity of belief in the prophets, but as the authentication of those traditions, they are mutawatir al-mana. Means in respect of their theses, in respect of their semantics, they are authenticated. If a person refuses the authenticity of those traditions, he would be stand infidel. Though belief in the Aimma is not as necessary as in Prophet, but these traditions are necessary to believe in because they are mutawatirat. Now, I would like to finish because they will say salam as well, and after that we shall do the prayer in the congregation. I think that the questions concerning with Imam Mahdi Akhir Zaman, up to the last question, inshallah, I solved. If anybody likes to have a conversation or any discussion with me, he is allowed. After prayer, I shall say somewhere. If somebody wants to talk to me, can talk.